You know, there's this interesting debate that goes on between men and women about who's the prize. Now, of course, women, they feel like they're the prize. And to a very, very large degree, men also feel like women are the prize. As a matter of fact, you'll meet very few men who feel like men are the prize. But the truth of the matter is, men are the prize. And I know that that's something that you haven't heard before, or you haven't been, made to believe or anything like that. But it's the truth. Now, let me break it down for you like this. Now, let's take a basketball team, right? Now, on the basketball team, you got the superstars, you got the starters, you got the bench players, and you got the bench warmers, right? So you got the superstars who produce almost all the time. You have the starters who produce most of the time and they complement the superstars. And then you have the bench players who come in and relieve players when they're fatigued, when they're tired, and they're also specialists. They come and they bring some sort of specific skill set to the game that may be needed at this time or at some particular time. And then you got the bench warmers. They're just pretty much along for the ride, waiting their turn. They're working themselves into getting into, being good enough to where they can be bench players and then eventually starters and then maybe even superstars one day. You would prize the player that puts in most of the work. They're the ones who make things happen almost every time, game in and game out. I'm willing to bet that you would put more value in that player than you would the player that's just the bench warmer who's along for the ride. Okay, so the one that's doing most of the work or all the work is prized more than the one that's doing little to no work. I think we can all agree to that. So now let's flip this over to men and women. Now, as the man, you have to initiate the contact with the woman in most cases. You have to open her up. You have to keep the conversation flowing. Okay? You have to be interesting enough to her to where she wants to conversate with you. Keep it going. And then, you set up some sort of date or something so you can see her again at some later time. You set that up. You better plan it. You better not show up there without a plan. You better plan that date. You're paying for it. Maybe you might pick her up. Maybe you'll meet her wherever you're going. Now you're doing all of those things. And all she has to do is go along for the ride. Just show up and look pretty. Something that she does every day anyway. Who's the prize? The one that does most of the work? Or the one that's going along for the ride? You tell me.